Good morning, children. Sairam. So today here we are ready with our next video and next poem. This time we are going to take poem again, which is Keeping Quiet. It's very interesting poem that deals with the nature and how we should show our responsibility towards it. It tells us about it. So first of all, let's see about the author. The poem Keeping Quiet is written by Pablo Neruda, who discusses the need of maintaining peace and silence. He stresses upon being quiet and harmless to the human beings, animals, and environment. He suggests that in order to maintain peace and harmony, it is required to stop and introspect ourselves. There is a need to stop now and just do self realization. This is what the poet feels. The poet asks humanity to count numbers from 1 to 12, 12 being the number of hours shown in a clock or the number of zodiac signs. He requests everyone not to speak because languages create barriers between people. The moment when everyone stops moving, their body will be very special and different as we have never experienced such a moment before. The poet says that in this period of inactivity and the fishermen would not harm the whales, the salt gatherers will not hurt their hands, those who are busy destroying the nature will adopt a new approach towards life. The men who are preparing for wars and victory based on deaths of innocent people will join their enemy and stand in unity with them, doing nothing. No one will harm himself or any other person. Everyone will unite and ponder upon his acts and realize the results of his deeds. The poet further says that he does not want people to stand idle. He wants that there should be no war because he does not want to see trucks laden with dead bodies of the soldiers. He is promoting universal brotherhood and peace. The poet also says that everyone is working continuously to achieve one's goals. People are threatened by death and fear forces to them to work endlessly so that they can achieve everything quickly. In this mad rush, they do not realize the causes, the bad effects of their acts. He wants us to pause and come out of the mad rush. He wants us to be happy about our achievements and celebrate them. He wants us to overcome the fear of death and to relax for a while. We should know the results of our deeds and we should always celebrate our achievements. When the people will remain quiet for a while, they will realize the purpose of their lives. Just like all the creations of nature undergo a rebirth with the change of seasons, similarly, keeping quiet will be a rebirth for the human soul. It will give a new meaning to our lives. Again, the poet says that he will count till 12 and ask everyone to remain quiet while he leaves. Because he's saying so because he wanted the people to do self realization for a while. He wanted them to be quiet and to just recall each and everything what they have done. He wanted each and every human being to stand still and think over again what harms he has caused to the nature. So this was the introduction. Now I'm telling you some of the hard words. This time I'm telling you orally. So exotic is there, interrupt is there, threat is there. Exotic, if I'll talk about the example, Italian exotic cars are the daydreams of much of the world. Interrupt, his dinner was interrupted by a phone call. Threat, the constant threat of danger kept us all on our toes. So these are the hard words. Now let's begin with the poem and I'll explain you its stanza wise. Now we will count to 12 and we'll all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. So the poet here requests everyone to count till 12 in their own mind and to stop for a while. Maybe this 12 referred by the poet is the 12 hours in the clock, or maybe the 12 months that we have in the year. He wants everyone to stop and calm down. The poet urges everyone not to speak any language. As we all know that there are different languages spoken in different parts of the earth, which sometimes become a barrier in our way for peace. So, the poet asks people not to speak. He does not want anybody to say something. He does not want anyone to move. He just wanted everybody to be quiet and still. Not only this, he also wants us to stop moving our arms. By using the word arms, he means the weapons which are used by different countries to raise a war against each other. So basically, the poet is demanding peace from all of us. So let's see the next stanza. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. So, here the poet is saying that it would be a rare situation when there will be no engines working. There will be silence everywhere. Here he wants to say that if everything comes to stand still, it will be a very different moment. People will not be in a rush to achieve material things and they will not run after one another. He also says that the fishermen will also stop and not harm the whales in the sea. This means that the poet is urging everyone not to harm the animals. So, see, children, we can relate this poem to the lockdown also. Like, this is the time when, in a way, we all are a bit still and we all are a bit quiet because we are not doing any movement, we are not polluting the earth, we are not damaging it because of our vehicles and so many other things. So, it's the present situation is something which we can relate to this poem. So, as we are living presently, we are not fighting with anyone, we are not interrupting in anybody's work, we are not polluting the environment, we are at our home, we are staying safe, we are staying at home. So, in the same way, the poet wants everyone to be calm, quiet for a while so that the earth can recover itself. Like during the lockdown period, also, the earth has recovered itself a lot. So, you can relate it to that too. The poet also wants people to calm down so that they can stop and see what they have achieved or lost. For this, he gives the example of the man who gathers salt, whose hands are hurt. Here, he wants everyone to stop for a while in order to see and feel their achievements and how much they have lost for the sake of attaining such materialistic things. So, this is the next stanza. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. So the poet asks everyone to stop those activities which are damaging the environment. Today, all the human beings are making money by damaging the environment with their activities such as mining, deforestation, and letting the chemical waste into the rivers, etc. The poet asks us not to involve in wars as there is no benefit of achieving such victory in which no one is left alive. See here, what I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. So the poet says that such victory in which no one is left alive, that is of no use. He says so because wars and environmental damage will lead to no life on earth. Rather, he wants people to adopt a new approach towards life and mankind. He says that you should treat your enemy like brothers and promote peace and harmony in the world. Next is, if we were not so single minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. So now the poet wants to clarify to his readers that when he asks them to stop from saying or doing nothing, he doesn't want anyone to become a non active person. Non active is a person who remains idle and doesn't do anything. But here he simply means that we should stop and see the consequences of our deeds. The poet doesn't want to see people being killed due to their greed for money and expansion of territories. He also says that people are continuously working to achieve their task without even thinking about their results. They are in fear of death and therefore want to achieve most of things before their death. Here he urges them to stop for a while and take some moment to relish on what they have achieved till now. Everyone here is living a life in which he wants to achieve various things, one after the another. But now the poet says it is the time to stop and see what has been achieved, should be enjoyed. This will help us to skip the sadness which has become prominent in our lives. So, the last para, perhaps the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now, I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. In the last stanza, the poet wants to suggest to human beings that we all should learn a lesson from earth. During the winter, everything freezes and becomes lifeless. But when season changes, everything present in the nature, such as the trees, birds, and the rivers, they all get alive. The poet says that the humans can try and make their life better with calmness and peace. Finally, he ends up by saying that now he will count up to 12 so that we all may become quiet. Here, quiet means calm down ourselves and move towards the path of peace and harmony. After saying this, he says, I will go. He says so. He says, as he conveyed his message to the people and wants them to be left alone to think about it and work in the direction of peace. So, this was the poem for today, that is Keeping Quiet. I'm not giving you any homework this time. You just have to see the poem and try to understand. So let's see the questions which I gave you in previous video. As your home assignment. So these were the questions. What do you think is the color of sour cream? Why do you think the poet has used this expression to describe the classroom walls? You must be aware of that previous time we did this chapter, an elementary school in a slum. So there, what do you think the color of sour cream? The color of sour cream is off-white. And why do you think the poet has used the expression to describe the classroom walls? He has used this expression to describe the classroom walls because like the sour cream, like the color of sour cream, the lives of these children, those who live in these slum areas and those who are less fortunate, their life is also pale. It's colorless. It's not having any liveliness in it. That's why the poet has used it. So second is, the walls of the classroom are decorated with the pictures of Shakespeare building with domes, world maps and beautiful valleys. How do these contrast with the world of these children? it completely contrasts with the world of these children, because the picture of Shakespeare or the buildings or the maps or the beautiful valleys has to do nothing with their lives. In actual, these children are going through a very critical situation. They are in so great difficulty that they are not able to eat two square meal, and that they are not able to meet their basic needs. So do you really think that having a picture of Shakespeare on the wall, or the buildings, or the beautiful valleys, or the world maps is going to make some difference? No. What's going to make the difference is our attitude towards them. If we are kind towards them, if we are helpful towards them, we cannot remove everything, but at least we can be helpful to them. So this thing is going to change something. Otherwise, it completely contrasts with their real world, with their real life. So for today, this was your poem Keeping Quiet. Thank you everyone. Sairam.